Part 2, why did I decide to buy a business? Okay, part 2 of my series about buying businesses and scaling through acquisitions. One of the questions I've been asked is, why buy a business? Why not just keep growing your existing business? And honestly, I was growing my business. I actually started my company back in 2012 and built it completely from the ground up. Very little marketing spend, no big ad budgets. The majority of my growth came from networking, word of mouth, referrals, and just consistently showing up, building relationships, and letting the business grow organically over time. But there comes a point where you realize organic growth takes time. You have to find the leads, market to them, sell them, onboard them, and then build the team and systems to service all of those new clients. And for me, that's where things really started to shift. A big part of that shift came from mentors I've invested in over the years. So I've worked closely with Adam Coffey. He has written multiple books on buying and rolling up businesses. You can follow him on LinkedIn. I've attended several of his seminars and even spent a power day with him alongside several other small businesses that were there up in Dallas. And it was a very intense day. We got coached through him, what we should do next on each one of our businesses. And he told me I need to start doing roll-ups. I've also worked with Eddie Wilson and Andrew Cordle's Aspire group. I did a year of deep training on how to grow your wealth tax-free. And then I spent another year inside Eddie Wilson's Empire group, and that is focused on scaling and growing the business the right way. So I did that the year prior to getting started with this. And it was really through those two experiences that something just really clicked. And it's like, okay, I'm actually ready to start growing through acquisitions. Because when you look at acquisitions, you're not just building from scratch. You're potentially buying something that's already operating. You're buying revenue. You're buying clients. You're buying relationships. You're buying a book of business that someone may have already spent 20, 30, or even 40 years building. That was my case. I basically doubled my business overnight by buying a business that's been in business for 40 years. For me, that was really attractive because I have some really big growth goals. And here's something I've learned. Buying revenue doesn't automatically mean that you're buying profit. And that was one of my biggest lessons. You have to understand what you're actually buying. What are those clients paying for? When was the last time those prices were increased? How much labor does it actually take to service them? What expenses are going to stay after the acquisition? What expenses are going away? And what new expenses are going to have that you're going to have that the previous owner didn't? Because a business can look really profitable on paper until you own it and get into it. Yes, acquisitions can absolutely help you grow faster. What I've learned, your goal shouldn't just be how much revenue can I buy? The better question is how much profitable revenue am I buying? And that's something I look at differently now than I did when I started this process. So in part 3, I'll talk about some of the things I wish I would have looked at more closely before buying my first business and what I'm actually doing now with my second acquisition. So if you're considering buying a business, tell me in the comments, what are your biggest questions or fears about buying one? I may use your question for the next video, so make sure you follow or subscribe so you don't miss out on part 3.